First at 4, it looks like they just couldn't escape in time. Neighbors remember a local couple who died together. There's a new arrest in the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking case. We'll talk about the charges against his former socialite girlfriend. And Ben is busy on the weekend forecast. Ben?
Yeah, Devin, we are dancing around 90 this afternoon, but the heat goes even higher for the holiday weekend. We'll look at all of those nines coming up. Kim?
As we gear up for the holiday weekend, I want to remind you about being safe. I spoke with the Oakland County Sheriff about how to keep things fun, but still safe.
Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News First at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon, I'm Devin Skillian sitting in for Karen this week. First at 4, Governor Whitmer has pumped the brakes on reopening Michigan, and the number you're about to see would seem to support that decision. The state just recorded 543 new cases of coronavirus in the past 24 hours. That is the largest single-day case count since the end of May. Now, just yesterday, we reported the number of new cases was down to 262. We have been seeing some spikes, though, since the end of June. 15 additional deaths have now been reported. Yesterday, that number, you may recall, was just 4. Just yesterday, we had the breaking news that the governor was closing indoor service at many bars and nightclubs in Lower Michigan. That went into effect overnight. New at 5 today, Dr. Frank McGeorge will be here to dig into the numbers and give us his take on exactly what it is that we're seeing and what's happening. All right, other news at 4, a married couple killed after a fire breaks out in their home in Van Buren Township. It happened on Lilac Lane near I-94 and Belleville Road. A neighbor's video shows the huge flames roaring out of the home. Firefighters say Richard and Patricia Johnson were probably sleeping when that fire broke out around 1:30 in the morning. Investigators say it looks like they were trying to escape. They were found in the garage. Neighbors today are heartbroken.
Well, it's just so sad. It's just hard to believe that it couldn't happen to nicer people you couldn't find on this earth.
Fire marshal says it appears to have been accidental, but the exact cause of the fire remains under investigation. We've got a sentencing date for a man who posed as a police officer before getting busted by the Oakland County Sheriff himself. You remember the story, the video of Sheriff Mike Bouchard making the arrest back in February. He spotted a speeding car decked out to look like a police car. It wasn't. Adrian Asante has pleaded guilty to carrying concealed weapons and possessing flashing lights. Could face up to 5 years behind bars. He's going to be sentenced coming up in the middle of the month. We have some breaking news now from the Mackinac Bridge, where holiday traffic and road construction are combining to cause, as you can see, a bit of a backup. We captured these images from the Bridge Authority camera. If you are heading way up north, be prepared. Let's turn our attention to that first forecast now for this as we're just now a day away from a big holiday weekend. A lot of people getting 3 days off. Ben Bailey here with how things are looking tonight. Ben?
Yeah, hot is the operative word here, and we've been sort of all around that 90-degree mark today. 89 has been our highest hourly temperature, and we'll wait for the official word to see whether or not we did hit 90. We're at 87 right now. All these numbers are just a little bit hotter than what we saw yesterday, and will continue to add to that heat as we head into the weekend. So for you lucky folks that get a 3-day weekend, tomorrow will be one of the steamier ones. That's when we see the humidity up. 92 tomorrow, 91 Saturday, 92 Sunday. There is a slight chance of a thunderstorm tomorrow. We'll look at the timing of that and also some of the other locations around the state if you're heading out of town. All that and more 90s in the 7-day forecast coming up. Devin?
All right, Ben. Well, she's been keeping a pretty low profile for months now, but Jeffrey Epstein's former companion, Ghislaine Maxwell, is now in federal custody. The FBI arrested her this morning in New Hampshire, where agents have been keeping tabs on her whereabouts. Kimberly Gill in the newsroom with more on this. She is facing very serious charges.
She is, Devin, and good afternoon to you. Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, as you may remember, last summer while awaiting trial. His victims had to wonder if they'd ever see any justice. Well, now federal prosecutors say they've arrested the woman who helped recruit, groom, and ultimately abuse girls as young as 14 years of age. Several of Epstein's accusers have long pointed the finger at Maxwell. She's a British socialite who lived with Epstein and was paid to manage some of his properties. She's now facing several charges connected to the recruitment of girls to travel for illegal sex acts. The charges are connected to alleged acts between the years 1994 and 1997. Plus, investigators say she lied under oath in 2016, which led to perjury charges as well.
Maxwell lied because the truth, as alleged, was almost unspeakable. Maxwell enticed minor girls, got them to trust her, then delivered them into the trap that she and Epstein had set for them.
Well, so far, we haven't heard from Maxwell or her attorneys. In the past, she's repeatedly denied any wrongdoing, calling some of the accusations, quote, absolute rubbish. This will be one of the top stories on Inside Edition. That's at 4:30 immediately following this broadcast. And then Devin, we'll be back, of course, at 5 o'clock with more news. For now, we'll send it back to you.
You got it, Kim. We'll see you then.
Yep.
Well, here there was a closed-door intelligence briefing today on the claims that Russian agents put a bounty on U.S. soldiers. None of the so-called Gang of Eight congressional leaders would comment about what they heard as they left the meeting. But today they heard and spoke with CIA Chief Gina Haspel, also the Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe. New York Times has reported the allegations of the bounty offer were included in one of the president's daily briefings months ago. The White House has not commented on that specific claim, but has said the president was never briefed verbally. We are looking at a big boost for the job market, but will a resurgence of the coronavirus make this short-lived? That's where the worry is at this hour. Unemployment fell to a little more than 11% in June. The economy recovered 4.8 million jobs, almost 5 million jobs gained, but that data was gathered the second week of June before the number of states began to reverse or suspend the reopening of their economies. So we'll see if it can hold up. President Trump, though, seized the moment to claim credit for that good news in a news conference he quickly pulled together this morning.
80% of small businesses are now open, 80%. And we think we're going to have some very good numbers in the coming months because others are opening. And especially as we put the flame out, getting rid of the flame, it's happening.
That's the president referring to the flames of the coronavirus crisis there at the end of the news conference. Any job losses from the past 2 weeks won't be reflected until the July report that comes out in early August. Now, the president is also determined to celebrate the 4th of July in a big way. This year's party on the National Mall will feature one of the largest fireworks displays ever. 300,000 face masks are going to be given away. The mayor of Washington is concerned about the health risks, but wearing masks will not be required during the event. President thanking corporate donors. Last year's celebration cost $13 million, which was twice as much as was spent in previous years. Now, back here at home, a lot of people are probably eager to have some kind of 4th of July fun. In addition to taking COVID precautions, the sheriff of Oakland County urging all of us to remember some traditional safety concerns, too. He met up with our Kim DeGiulio to run through some advice to keep us all safe and sound.
As we approach the holiday weekend, many people will be outside enjoying this beautiful weather. However, it's important that we always remember to use our heads because unfortunately, it's weekends like 4th of July when things can go from a good time to tragedy. The 4th of July is meant to be a celebration weekend, but the celebration can come to a screeching halt when one of these vehicles needs to show up, and it's all too often when people say,
I never thought this would happen to us. It can and does happen to everybody's family and friends when they mix that alcohol with doing something with a car or boat.
Oakland County Sheriff Mike Bouchard says sometimes tragedies are simply from negligence. So be sure to check your boat to make sure everything is there and working properly.
You have the flotation devices, you have a phone to call if there's an emergency. We want people to have a blast. There's 450 lakes in Oakland County. Come out, enjoy them, have fun.
However, most boat accidents happen when the driver of the boat has had too much to drink. Pair that with temps in the 90s and things could go south quickly.
And when you drink a lot and you're in the sun and dehydration and all the physical effects of that, you're less capable of responding to an emergency.
The legal limit for driving a boat is the same as driving a car, 0.08.
And we're going to be looking for that. We're going to have extra patrol out on the roads and on the water looking for people that have been drinking and operating a vehicle. So we don't want to arrest anybody, but we don't want anybody to die.
Now, in the past, many people have relied on apps like Uber and Lyft to get home safe. However, because of this pandemic, there's not always as many drivers available. So your safest bet is knowing who your designated driver is before you start drinking. In Oakland County, I'm Kim DeGiulio, Local 4.
All right, Kim. Still ahead, a bit like playing Russian roulette with the coronavirus. Teenagers reportedly having COVID-19 parties. We'll explain, though it might not help you believe what's happening. Also, taking legal action, the battle over face masks is now headed to court. You're going to hear one argument opposing a mask mandate just ahead. Remember the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite? The Academy says it just did something that could increase diversity among minorities and women, and this effort includes some popular Hollywood stars. We'll have a closer look at that. Before we go to break, don't forget our Salute to America special program coming your way tomorrow night. The Henry Ford, Detroit Symphony Orchestra, and Local 4 all teaming up for a summer treat in the safety of your own home. Jason Carr, Tati Amari will be there tomorrow night at 8 p.m., and we hope you will be too. We'll be right back on First at 4.